Hi, Carolyn Forrester. Here's what happened on Carolyn Talks podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to speaking with us today. So my question is for everyone on the panel. For William and Jessica, can you just tell me about working through the development of Marcus and Mia's relationship from friends to lovers and to a husband and wife and parents, and how difficult that process because their relationship is very static, and then at moments it's just like speeding ahead. And for Sam and Rochelle, can you tell me that your perspective as writers and showrunners of developing this story so that it flows linearly because it skips a lot of years? And like the ending was actually surprising to me because I wasn't expecting that. Like I wasn't expecting an epilogue. It was like, wait, what? So can you just tell me, you guys, about portraying those characters and the time and writing and developing the story as it went along?
I think when it came to developing the characters, I think we sort of like developed them. I feel like we developed them together in a lot of ways. I feel like there's like an energy that we both sort of like latched onto and a rapport that we just kind of had and just we kind of clicked immediately. And so like a lot of the growth was something that was just kind of happening organically as we were working together. And so when there were big news story points, it didn't feel, um, it didn't feel like we were jumping way ahead. It just sort of felt like this is the next piece in the logical progression of two people who connect in the way that Marcus and Mia do. Um, and so it's like I feel like it's almost like rather than looking at it as two characters sort of figuring out who they are separately and then how they interact. It's like what is the sort of thread between the two of them that kind of keeps them moving in a certain direction. And that's what it felt like to me, like working on it. It just sort of, I felt like a lot of what I gleaned who Marcus was sort of coming through Mia's eyes a little bit and how she felt about him. And it was like that was informative and yeah.
And we shot it in order, so it did feel like it progressed pretty naturally. And I think Will and I both knew how the season would end, and we just sort of knew the general beats, but just kind of then how we got there, we would like the minutia of it. All we had to do was kind of plug into that, or all I had to do. Don't know why I keep saying we. All I had to do was plug into that and kind of be present in the scene, but in the back of my mind, I knew how these two would end up. So I felt like we were kind of building this relationship together, and very much like Bridget and Sam and Rachelle were so a part of that too.
Yeah, just to jump in with the writing side of it. I mean, the room started and William was cast, and we knew he was our lead. And I think you always kind of keep the actor and performer in mind as you're crafting a character. Like character, you have thoughts about it, but I'm also thinking about Will and what I want to see him do, honestly. And we started crafting Marcus in the room, but with Mia, and Sam, jump in if I'm crazy, but I feel like there's a lot of Mia we discussed before Jessica was cast, and there was a way we saw Mia before she was cast, and then when she came on board, we definitely made some changes to Mia that all for the better, and it just instantly kind of clicked in. And so originally we didn't have that ending in mind. We didn't have the ending yet, but once. And the cool thing about it is like we shot episode 1 before we were finished with all writing like the last like 3 or 4 episodes. So it really helped a lot, like because we saw them on screen, like we see the scenes being shot in like the rough assembly of episode 1. It's like, oh my God, okay, well, duh. But it's like, how do we fake the audience out long enough so like they can get through these ups and downs, because ultimately these two really belong together. And then it became about making sure that those last 4 really handled the journey properly. But in terms of the character, like casting plays a big part of it, but also the room and who the writers are and what details of our life we're willing to give up to form these people. And so you kind of see you get a unique blend of that in these characters, particularly Mia, who was definitely always kind of a work in progress in the room.
Yeah, and I think, like Rachelle is saying, part of the benefit of, I think it's on the one hand what makes making a TV show really crazy and really stressful, but on the other hand, it's something that we had fun trying to take advantage of, which is if you're still kind of writing and shaping the thing as it's being shot and you're kind of a few episodes, ahead writing wise, but you're still figuring that out altogether, it gave us in this case the opportunity to like write to what was really happening and to see, in a vacuum, we were such huge fans of both Will and Jess, before we ever got to work with them. But when you start to see them play these characters and you see them lock in so hard and lock into each other so hard, and you get to see that chemistry, it does make it so that you just want to write to it and you want to continue in that direction. And as everyone is saying, all work together to kind of figure that out. And I think, as far as the ending being known or not, I think, we talked a lot just vaguely about we want Marcus and Mia to end up together. We, want this happy ending for these characters. And, as Rachelle was saying, we have to kind of put them through the ringer to get a season of TV out of it before then. But I think, especially coming out of season 1, we were also pretty conscious of wanting to zig where season 1 zagged as much as possible and to kind of twist it or subvert it or just turn the structure around whenever we could. And so part of that was, season 1 followed, a young woman, she's in her 20s. And so much of that was kind of, an individual, the story of one individual trying to find someone and not knowing who that person was. And I think one of the things we were interested in from a pretty early point with season 2 was how can we build these two characters? They're both adults. And instead of it being the story of one person wondering if anyone will ever love them, it's really more about these two people and the amount of time that it takes for them to be ready for each other. And what do they go through along that road? What do they learn about each other? How do those things kind of fold in on themselves and back again? It's funny, like even when, that we've been dropping these episodes in batches. And I think there were a lot of people, I saw people on Twitter who after the first 6 were out thought the season was over. And, because 6 ends with kind of this, like, it's a little opaque, or it's like a little open-ended, but it ostensibly, I guess, could be, Marcus and Mia ending up together. And I think those people had no idea that it was going to sort of like blow up and come back together and, all the kind of craziness that was yet to come. So I think, anyway, I'll stop rambling, but I think, a lot of it is how do we kind of build Marcus, follow Marcus down this rabbit hole, invest in these relationships that he's with along the way, that, these relationships he's in along the way that aren't with Mia, but also kind of keep Mia alive and really have the audience be rooting for that as the kind of core story and not, rolling their eyes or turning the TV off anytime it's not Mia, sort of trying to thread all of that together into something. And hopefully that's what we did.
You did. You succeeded. Thank you so much.
Thank you.